guys, Rachel here, and today I want to talk about a little secret to weight loss and looking and feeling your best that I wish someone told me 17 years ago because it would have saved me a lot of physical and emotional distress that I had from yo-yo dieting. And that thing is quitting sugar. I'm telling you, quitting sugar is life-changing. You're talking to the girl who was considered clinically obese at 9 years old, didn't know why they were bigger than all the other kids, didn't know why I lacked energy. I actually ended up going to a weight loss camp when I was 9 years old because I weighed more than I do now as a full-grown adult. I'm telling you, look at the pictures. And I ended up going for 6 weeks. I lost 23 pounds in those 6 weeks, but I didn't honestly lose those pounds healthfully. I was a really picky eater and I didn't like the food that they served at the camp, so I honestly wouldn't eat a lot of the food. And what that taught me was that if I restricted a lot, then I would lose weight and I would be like the other kids, which is the wrong mindset to have. That is so unhealthy to think that way. And honestly, that kickstarted a 17-year journey of me yo-yo dieting and just being obsessed with food and nutrition and the idea of weight loss. I would alternate between restriction and binging. It was just a mess, and it caused me a lot of anxiety. So why did I quit sugar in the first place? I've been suffering from GERD and insomnia since I was 15. And for those of you who don't know, GERD is chronic acid reflux. I was told I was gonna have to be on medication for life. And I had a lot of inflammation in my body because of that acid reflux. I saw a ton of studies on how reducing your sugar intake could actually drastically reduce inflammation in the body. So that's really why I decided to quit sugar in the first place. So because I saw that quitting sugar could drastically reduce the inflammation in your body and might help with chronic acid reflux and sleep, I decided to give it a go for 30 days. There's a lot of debate online whether you need 10 or 30 days to quit sugar. I found that I just wanted to make sure I got all the benefits, so I made it the full 30 days on foods with no added sugar, so no processed foods, only whole foods. It's kind of crazy how much us Americans eat sugar if you really think about it. The American Heart Association actually recommends only 6 teaspoons of sugar for women, which is 25 grams a day, and 9 teaspoons of sugar for men, which is about 37.5 grams per day. And actually, the average American is getting 75 grams of sugar a day. So you better believe it, most of us Americans are addicted to sugar because that is what's in our food supply these days. It's the American diet, and it's kind of hard to avoid. So this cornbread, too much. Quitting sugar was a game changer for me, and I will tell you why. But first, if you're new to my channel, then welcome. Here I talk about all things health and wellness, including sustainable weight loss and weight management. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to subscribe to my channel down below. And if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and like it. I would really appreciate it. And without further ado, let's get into my experience with quitting sugar. So the first thing I did to cut sugar is I looked at all the packaged foods that I had. If it contained added sugars or the ingredients fructose, maltodextrin, sucrose, corn syrup, dextrose, molasses, or any other pseudonym for sugar, I threw it out. Sugar is sneaky. You think it was in the witness protection program or something with all its pseudonyms. Now I went balls to the wall with this, and I even limited my consumption of natural sugars like honey or maple syrup to once per week for the first month. I did, however, eat whole foods that contain sugars such as bananas and berries. I was still eating fruit for a couple of times per day, so it's not like I quit cold turkey. Just like with any addiction, quitting cold turkey doesn't always work that well. What really helped me quit sugar is allowing myself dessert every night. So that's when I would have berries and chia seed pudding. Having something filling and satisfying like this really helped curb my sugar cravings at night and really helped me get through the first 3 to 5 days when my sugar cravings were their worst. Another thing that helped me was switching from eating bread to eating grain-free alternative bread. I found a lot of grain-free breads had a lot less sugar in them than normal bread, so that was just another little hidden area I found that allowed me to feel like I was still satisfying some sort of craving for bread, but not get as much sugar. The reason quitting sugar is so so tough in the beginning is because our bodies contain a fungus called Candida. Candida is naturally present in our body, and it is a sugar-loving fungus, so it helps our body digest sugars. The problem arises when we eat an excess of sugar, like most Americans do. The more sugar we consume, the more we are feeding the Candida in our gut and causing its population to grow. And this is why our sugar craving can feel so strong sometimes, because it's actually the sugar-loving Candida craving the sugar than actually us. This does not mean you can never have sugar again. It just means being strict for 30 days to reduce the population of Candida in your gut. And just make it past that 3 to 5 day period when your cravings are gonna be pretty strong. And honestly, after the 30 days of cutting sugar, you'll notice you don't even crave sugar like you once did. I did introduce certain sugars back into my diet, such as honey and maple syrup and coconut sugar, but I did not add white sugar back into my diet ever. I decided that if I'm gonna add sugar back in, it needs to have some nutritional value. The only thing white sugar has to offer is sweetness. It's okay to consume sugar from time to time. It's just not meant to be a dietary staple every day. The reason why you don't want to make recipes with those sweeteners when quitting sugar is because they actually change the bacteria in your gut, similar to the way regular sugar does, and they're hard for our bodies to digest. Your body will get accustomed to wanting sweet foods, and they can actually limit your tolerance for other flavors. So if you have fruit, it will not taste sweet to you, and honestly, vegetables will be almost unbearable. And that's because when you use a 0-calorie sweetener, it's so sweet that when we eat other foods that are normally sweetened, we can't even pick up on that sweetness on our taste bud radar. It just doesn't register because we're so used to getting a certain level of sweetness. You'll probably see recipes that contain 0-calorie sweeteners such as stevia, erythritol, monk fruit, etc. And remember, just because you're quitting sugar doesn't mean you can't have fruit or starchy carbohydrate. If you need help with what high carb foods to eat, look for foods with a low glycemic index. This means that the food doesn't cause major swings in your blood sugar levels. So foods with a high glycemic index will cause your blood sugar to spike and then crash because the sugar in the food is more readily available, and that puts stress on your body and creates a Candida feeding frenzy since there was so much sugar made available so quickly. And if our blood sugar crashes, so do we. Also, foods with a high glycemic index are a major cause of skin inflammation, which can aggravate conditions like eczema or acne. And I will link to this chart on low glycemic index and high glycemic index foods in the description below so you can have it as a reference. So before I get into the results I got from quitting sugar, if you have a favorite low sugar recipe that you love, please put it in the comments below. I'm always looking for new ideas. And also, I think I'm gonna make myself a little green juice before I start talking about all the, fun results. The first thing I noticed within the first week of quitting sugar was that my stomach bloating went down so much. Like, I need new pants so much. Let me tell you, you have no idea you're bloated until you're not bloated anymore. The reason for the bloat when you consume sugar is because it's broken down in your digestive tract into gas. I promise that wasn't me. And that gas can cause bloating. Also, increased sugar intake can cause inflammation in the body, which can also cause bloating. The second thing I noticed was that I gained so much more willpower when it came to eating. Honestly, the first few days were rough. I craved so much sugar and felt more hungry than normal. But once I pushed through those first few days, my cravings went away, and it only got easier with time. So this is because foods sweetened with sugar and foods containing fructose actually increase your desire for food. And a lot of processed foods out there today are sweetened with things like fructose. And fructose has actually been shown to increase your leptin resistance. And leptin is that hormone that tells your body when it's full. So if you have an increased face resistance to leptin, then it's gonna take a lot more for your body to release that hormone and tell your body that it's full. So you're gonna end up eating actually a lot more food than you actually need to because your body never told you to stop. You'll just wanna keep eating and eating, basically until you feel sick. So when you give up sugar, you'll start to feel full when you're full, and you'll actually have the willpower to stop eating, and you won't overeat because your resistance to leptin will be normalized. Also, like I kind of mentioned earlier, because I got my body so used to consuming very little sugar, when I'd have something like fruit, it tasted so much sweeter and so much better than fruit had ever had before to me. And healthy food just in general tastes better to me now that I don't consume sugar anymore. I actually naturally began to lose fat off my body, and by the end of the 30 days, I had actually lost weight without even focusing on weight loss for once in my life, which was crazy to me. The third thing I noticed was that I actually was able to heal my chronic illnesses because I had so much less inflammation in my body. I was able to get off my acid reflux medication that I had been on for 10 years, and I slept better, and I had so much more energy. And with that energy, I was able to get more out of my workouts, I was more productive throughout the day, and I just felt so much better. It's now been a year since I reduced my overall sugar intake, and I haven't needed to take my acid reflux medication for over a year, and I was told I was gonna have to be on that
for life.
So I know the idea of quitting sugar can be daunting, so just take the whole process slowly and with a grain of salt. If you slip up, don't beat yourself down. Something that can make quitting sugar a little easier is to allow yourself to have dessert. And no, I don't mean chocolate cake. I mean choose foods with a lower glycemic index that taste sweet, but they don't spike your blood sugar as much. So for example, I eat these date and nut bars that taste so good. It tastes like I'm eating a really sweet dessert, but I just use dates and nuts. I honestly didn't even know I liked dates until these bars. They're so good, and I'll link the recipe for those below. Another option you could have is I really like to have nut butter at night. Number one, because I love it. Number two, because it just really curbs my cravings and it keeps me full for a long time. So you could have something like nut butter on a banana. So all you have to do is really make it past the first 3 to 5 days. That's when your sugar cravings and your hunger is actually gonna feel the worst. So once you make it past pretty much the first week, things are gonna get so much easier for you. You're gonna have so much less cravings. You're gonna notice that your appetite's gone down. So many good things. So what's your relationship with sugar? Are you completely addicted, or do you feel like you could go without it and you have a pretty good relationship? Please let me know in the comments below because I'd love to learn more about you guys. Also, if you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up and like the video. Subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every Tuesday, so I'll see you then.